Federal investigators discovered hidden tunnels beneath suburban homes in Pennsylvania. The news report flickered on the screen, a grainy image of a suburban street, the kind where children ride bikes and neighbors wave from their porches. But beneath the surface of this idyllic community lay a darkness that would soon seep into the lives of its unsuspecting residents. The camera panned to a group of agents, their faces grim as they unearthed the secrets hidden beneath the foundations of the very homes where families believed they were safe. It began with whispers. At first, they were just faint sounds, easily dismissed as the creaks and groans of aging houses. But as the days turned into weeks, the whispers grew louder, morphing into footsteps echoing beneath the floors, knocking that reverberated through the walls and voices that seemed to slither through the vents. Families huddled together, exchanging nervous glances, each one wondering if the others had heard it too. In the quiet of the night, when the world outside was wrapped in a blanket of darkness, the sounds became more pronounced. Children would wake, eyes wide, with fear, convinced that someone or something was lurking just out of sight. Parents would reassure them, but even they could not shake the feeling that they were not alone. The walls felt alive, pulsing with a sinister energy that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. As the unsettling noises continued, a sense of dread settled over the neighborhood like a thick fog. Families began to disappear. It started with the Johnsons, who lived 2 doors down from the Millers. One evening, they simply vanished, leaving behind a half-eaten dinner and a dog barking frantically at the door. The Millers, who had shared countless barbecues with them, felt a chill creep into their bones. They tried to convince themselves that the Johnsons had gone on an impromptu vacation, but deep down, they knew something was terribly wrong. Then it was the Parkers, who had lived in the neighborhood for over a decade. One night, their teenage daughter, Sarah, went to bed, and by morning, she was gone. The police were called, but their search yielded nothing. No signs of struggle, no clues, just an empty room that echoed with the silence of her absence. The Millers could hear the muffled cries of Sarah's mother, a sound that would haunt them for nights to come. As fear gripped the community, the whispers turned into frantic conversations. Neighbors gathered in the street, exchanging theories and wild speculations. Some believed it was a serial kidnapper, while others whispered of something far more sinister. The local news reported on the disappearances, but the authorities seemed baffled, unable to provide any answers. The Millers, now consumed by anxiety, began to notice the strange occurrences in their own home. One night, as they lay in bed, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed beneath them. It was a slow, deliberate rhythm, as if someone was pacing back and forth in the darkness below. Mr. Miller sat up, heart racing, and listened intently. The sound was too close, too real to ignore. He glanced at his wife, who was already wide awake, her eyes reflecting the same terror that gripped him. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. He nodded, unable to find the words. They both knew they had to do something, but what? The thought of venturing into the basement where the sounds seemed to originate filled them with dread. Yet the fear of the unknown was now eclipsed by the fear of what might happen if they did nothing. The next day, they gathered their courage and descended into the basement. The air was thick with dust and the smell of dampness. As they reached the bottom of the stairs, the sounds intensified, a cacophony of whispers and knocks that seemed to reverberate off the walls. They followed the noise, hearts pounding, until they reached a section of the wall that appeared different, newer, almost as if it had been hastily patched. With trembling hands, Mr. Miller pressed against it, and to his shock, the wall gave way, revealing a narrow tunnel that snaked into darkness. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if beckoning them to enter. "Should we?" Mrs. Miller asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "We have to know," he replied, steeling himself against the fear that threatened to consume him. They crawled into the tunnel, the walls closing in around them. The air was stale and the ground was damp beneath their hands. As they moved deeper, the whispers transformed into a chorus of voices, each one distinct yet overlapping, creating a haunting melody that sent shivers down their spines. Suddenly, they stumbled upon a small chamber, illuminated by a flickering light bulb hanging from the ceiling. The sight that met their eyes was beyond comprehension. The walls were lined with photographs, images of their neighbors, smiling and laughing. But with one chilling detail, each photo had a date scrawled beneath it, and the dates were all in the future. Panic surged through them as they realized the implications. The disappearances were not random. They were part of something far more sinister. The tunnels connected every house in the neighborhood, a web of darkness that ensnared its victims. The whispers were not just echoes of the past. They were the voices of those who had been taken, trapped in a labyrinth of despair. As they turned to flee, the ground beneath them trembled, and the whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar. The tunnel seemed to shift, closing in around them, as if it were alive, hungry for more souls to consume. They scrambled back the way they came, the walls pulsating with a malevolent energy that threatened to swallow them whole. Bursting into the light of their basement, they slammed the door shut, hearts racing. They could still hear the whispers, now muffled but persistent, echoing in their minds. The Millers knew they could never return to their home, not with the knowledge of what lay beneath. As they fled into the night, the neighborhood stood silent, the houses watching, waiting. The whispers would continue, the footsteps would echo, and the darkness would spread, claiming more families, more lives. In the end, the Millers were just another set of faces in the photographs lining the walls of the chamber, their smiles frozen in time, waiting for the next unsuspecting family to move in. And as the sun set over the quiet street, the shadows deepened, and the whispers began anew, a chilling reminder that some secrets are best left buried.